Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome back to another edition of NBC's 10 Count. I'm Steve Fall, but on today's edition, I might have to bust out my sheep mask because I have Erick Redbid with me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing great. And off camera, a second ago, we were just talking about it, and it's very interesting you brought this up. When I asked you, what did you want to go by, you said, well, wrestling's very interesting, and you brought up a really good point. Why am I calling you by a character you played on TV when you are someone in the real world as well? Like, is wrestling the only industry that does this?
As far as I can tell, as far as entertainment industries go, I mean, yes. I mean, absolutely. And it's strange to me. And it's like I've been doing acting too on top, on top of wrestling. And if somebody came up to me and called me a character I played in a film, and thought that was me, I'd be like, no. My name's Joseph. But with wrestling, it's a little bit more hardcore, and people have a hard time differentiating, or they like to get caught up in the fantasy.
Maybe, because I used to hear stories about Gene Wilder being approached by children saying, are you Willy Wonka? And he would actually play out the fact that he is Willy Wonka, not Gene Wilder, who played Willy Wonka. So maybe that's the idea of keeping the magic alive versus calling you by your real name. Possibly. I don't know.
Maybe.
Interesting. Though, talking about your wrestling career, that sheep mask that everyone associates you with, how many did you destroy? Because there must have been thousands.
I had a lot, and it's funny. I actually got one laying right here. Like I have so many of these plastic ones that constantly got ruined. That eventually we started making latex ones, where we got to design them, and those I got to keep. Those you could not destroy. You could smash them with mallets and hammers and
wow
against ring steps, or and those things are solid. Like they're made of solid latex and a little bit of cheesecloth.
Yeah, because you always wonder, you see like a wrestler come down with either like a mask or a shirt or something like that, and you're going like, are they packing this up every time and traveling from town to town? How is this thing not getting ruined? But there we go. You just told us how to saw the lady in half. Your masks were made about other materials versus the plastic that got destroyed. But what was the origin story of that mask? How did you come to start wearing it?
It's funny. It's like we were in FCW, which is a precursor to NXT. It's basically what's the developmental territory, headed by Dr. Tom Pritchard as the head trainer and Dusty Rhodes as the promo class coach. And we always got a chance to try out different things. And I remember because I tried doing the Viking gimmick, which I told would never work. I mean, we got Vikings on TV now and Viking ships. Could tell me that ain't gonna work. It worked. But no, we tried many different things. I tried different Halloween masks, like plastic masks. Clear ones I painted. Like I was a big horror fan, so Texas Chainsaw, the one with Matthew McConaughey with the transvestite Leatherface, where he painted the skin. I tried it with a mask. Like I had a creepy clown mask that was like half a mask that showed the beard. Somebody had given me like a sheep mask, so I tried all these different things, and I was told not to cover up my face because my face was money, meaning it was in professional wrestling business as I had a ugly face when I get it. Like it's always good to see it's always good in wrestling to see somebody's face and the expressions, because you can tell quite the story with your face, and that's I think what he meant by it.
I hope.
So I never used the mask, and then we started filming vignettes for the Wyatt family to debut on WWE television, and I had it in my trunk, and I pulled it out and I said, "Hey, what do you guys think about this? Can we put it in the shots?" We put them in the shots as well as shots without them, and they ended up using all the footage using the sheet mask. So that's kind of just how it happens. I kept it.
Wow. So you guys shot two different versions of those vignettes, and they kept the ones with the sheet mask versus the ones without the sheet mask.
Yeah.
Wow. Like imagine if they chose the other version. Like the story of your career would be completely different. I wouldn't be sitting here going, "Hey, what about that sheep mask?" You know, I wouldn't have said that. That's crazy. That was such a big part of your character. Like in but you brought up the fun part about your beard though. Viking Raiders on TV saying that you couldn't be a Viking. Like, are you kidding me? In wrestling, we've had Mantar, half man, half tar. We've had Duke the Dumpster Drozy. You're telling me a Viking can't work? That's crazy talk. Berserker, like the Berserker, wasn't he a Viking?
Big John Nord, fellow Minnesotan. Yeah, a Viking character. But it was funny. But I always get we'd always do these promos in front of our fellow students, and they would always pop, meaning explode either in laughter or cheers at my promos that had to do with the Viking character, who was a man from the north, obviously. And what was funny is one day I was pulled aside of the office. I said, "No more of the Viking stuff. It's not going to work. You're just trying to get a pop from your fellow students. You're not trying to progress." And I'm like, "Isn't the whole point of doing this to connect with the people watching, and the people watching happen to be the audience of my peers?" So I always thought that was funny, but hey, it ended up working out. Now that I was, as you say, the sheep mask guy.
Yeah, I know, and did anyone ever say, "Hey, let's shave your beard off and see what that does"?
No.
No, there was like, "Listen, there are limits to what you want me to do here, and I'm not shaving this beard."
I mean, to me, like if it's the right thing, the right story, yeah, I'll shave it off because it's going to grow right back. The same with a guy who has luscious hair; he's going to shave his head.
Yeah.
There's been great, things and stories done that way. But like, is anything going to come along that's worth it to me? We'll see.
Right, beard versus beard. Bruce the Barber Beefcake is a special guest referee. Something like that, I guess, would be the way to go. But hey, we'll have to see. Though currently in the WWE, they have these vignettes these QR codes, a White Rabbit, and nobody can figure out who it is because everyone keeps thinking it's Bray Wyatt. Everyone wants Bray Wyatt to return. And do you have any guesses or ideas that White Rabbit is leading us to return of Bray Wyatt? Because Braun Strowman's back, then Bray Wyatt, everyone wants to come back. You could come back. Wyatt family returns. Do you think the White Rabbit's leading us to Bray Wyatt?
It's the White Rabbit reminds me of Alice in Wonderland, right? Yes. Alice in Wonderland, excellent movie. Probably done by a guy, written by somebody on acid, because there's so many undertones of different things happening. But all this talk is cool and speculation is cool. It gets people, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Well, if everybody guesses who's it going to be, it's not going to be a big surprise. So, like, wrestling's full of surprises, and I love that about it. But who's the White Rabbit? I have no freaking clue. All I know is everyone seems to think it's Bray, and that's cool. But who knows? And why would you want to know? Just keep speculating and be surprised and entertained when it happens, and hopefully it keeps your attention, because professional wrestling's attention span of the fans is very quick, very fast.
Yeah, this viral campaign of trying to figure out what QR codes and clues, it reminds me of when the Joker with Heath Ledger movie was coming out, where no one knew enough information about the movie, but they kept having these viral campaigns that got you more invested to tune in. But you're saying that if it's not Bray Wyatt, I have a feeling that the entire wrestling universe is going to explode in anger because, yes, they're all guessing it's Bray Wyatt and they all want it to be Bray Wyatt. There is no surprise to that factor. But if it's not Bray Wyatt, holy moly, people are going to be angry, don't you think?
Disappointed or angry? I don't know. But then who knows? Maybe the person that it is will gather up attention to keep their people's attention, and then it will be entertaining, and everyone will be happy after a week or two.
That's true too. I'm angry. Next day, oh, what's on TV? Uh, yeah, most likely that's gonna happen. I'm angry and then I'm not angry. But though, with Braun Strowman coming back, with the rumor of Bray Wyatt coming back, obviously people love the Wyatt family, have such fond memories of the Wyatt family. Is there an opportunity you think for yourself to return by yourself, even without Bray, without Braun, just you yourself, because your stature, you're such a big man. Again, the sheet mask, you're so notorious for so many fans. Like, is the opportunity still there?
There's always opportunity, and my story within wrestling, and like that character of Erick Rowan or Eric Redbeard, like it has so much left to tell and talk about. I think when I stepped aside when COVID happened, and people were let go, like I wasn't ready for my story to stop that on that venue. But it's been a couple of years. I've stepped my toes into other avenues of entertainment, which I fell in love with, but wrestling is always given me like I don't know. I've been lucky enough where I've been able to do some bigger arena shows with AEW and like get that taste of the crowd. But I haven't had a story. I haven't like told a story of what's happened to me since I stepped away from wrestling. And to me, I'd love to tell that story on some sort of stage, because I think it could be very interesting to see what's happened to me. Because I love continuality within wrestling. And the last time anybody saw me, I had a pet spider that died. So I'd like to talk about my years of recluse, wandering the earth, finding reason and purpose for life without my precious spider.
Let's talk about that spider for a second. Let's talk about that spider for a second, because again, it always goes back to the sheet mask for some strange reason. Fans online, and including myself, believe what was in that cage when it was covered was going to be the return of your sheet mask. It just kind of made sense because you had a different style for a little while as a different character, still Erick Rowan, but yet this cage we all thought something was going to come of this. Was the plan always a giant spider?
No. Originally, I was given a giant cage. I freaked out, which is any reaction to somebody being handed something so weird. And I wanted to know what the idea of the plan was. And Seth Rollins was the big baby face at the time, and I was told, hey, it's going to be a pet rat, which was great because it tied into my last feud where I tried to kill a man, being Roman Reigns, with a vehicle. And I was like, great, probably got a court-appointed therapist who told me to get a therapy pet, which would have been a rat. I was like, this is great. This is gonna be good for me. Hopefully, draw some more eyes to the product, and a great story because Seth backstage was going to curb stomp it by accident.
Oh.
And I was like, this is a great idea to start a feud, even though I got to, carry around the cage and not really tell a story for a couple of weeks. But he turned heel close to a few weeks after that, and it just kept getting extended until the awesome reveal. But such is work, such is life. You can pitch all you want along the ride, but that's what it was. And I'm sorry people didn't like that movie.
Yeah. I will be honest, wasn't a fan of that movie. Because I thought it was going to lead to something else. Like everything you just said to me is like, oh, that's awesome. Extended storylines, getting deeper to the character. We're getting further into your mind versus giant spider.
I did joke around a lot when I found out what it was, and with the reveal, I said this would be a perfect tie-in to have David Arquette jump out and yell "eight-legged freaks."
Dude, David Arquette, former WCW champion, ready to rumble star in the movies. Goddamn. What the heck's going on over there? Creative has changed. So maybe if Triple H was in charge at that point in time when you pitched that, we would get that going on right now, but we didn't get that.
Maybe stay away from spiders.
Maybe. Though that was just hilarious. I did love your work with Daniel Bryan, though. That was a lot of fun as well, because again, that it just seemed like to open up your character versus being the silent, deadly assassin with the sheet mask. It felt like suddenly you were becoming something more. And sadly, you and Bryan separated, and then it just fizzled out for you. What was the plan? Because I thought the idea of you and Bryan together was perfect.
Yeah, the idea of us together was great. Getting broken apart was even better because it allowed me a chance to start to tell my story
Yeah.
outside of being just sheep man, which I love that term right now. And I think after I switched brands and the cage thing, and they just didn't have any idea after the original thing fell through. They just didn't know what to do with me. I think. Which is what happens when you have a 6'8", 300+ pound man. If you don't have a plan for him, somebody's got to eat pinfalls, and unfortunately, guys like me will lose a lot more credibility the more we lose than guys half our size, and that's just optics. Like that's optics to the fans. A guy that's half my size can eat a loss and bounce back a lot quicker than a guy like me to take a loss. And that's like the fun part of wrestling. Like it's what it is, and people watch. But obviously, big loss records with no stories are never fun for the people on the losing end of it. But I don't think that many fans really think about that kind of stuff. But I know people get caught up on wins and losses, but I don't think they get caught up in the optics of what it means for certain guys to constantly lose that should be given more chances. And I can look at the roster and see guys that I wish would get pushed more. And when I say push, I mean the optics of being larger than life.
Yeah, I think for a long time, unfortunately, I think the Big Show fell into this category, or it would be like, tonight, you're a good guy and you're in the ring, and it's like, I don't agree with you, GM, evil GM. Well, tonight, John Cena, you have to fight this big guy, and then the big guy would always lose, always. It didn't matter. Albert, Big Show, yourself. You could go through the list of big men throughout the years, and it's always leads to that. Like, it's very hard to find a protected big man in wrestling because they always seem to be used to get a star who's smaller over. Like even like Hogan, Andre, the body slam. It's just it happens throughout time. And why is that? Do you think? Because a big man just makes a small man look more important and like the guts and the will to take you down?
It's always an easy story to tell, isn't it?
David and Goliath.
An easy story, the David and Goliath, showing out the weak points. But here's what I don't get in this reality-based part of wrestling. If they're doing David and Goliath and the Goliath keeps losing, isn't the Goliath the professional and going to look up the tape and not ever have those weaknesses exploited again by the smaller man?
You'd think, right?
But wrestling, it's what it is. I know I love the sport. It's entertaining at times to me, but that's what I love about it. There's so many different things for anybody to watch and everybody else to yell and complain about.
That's true. You're obviously getting paid to do a job, so you do the job that you're asked to do versus fans who are not getting paid to watch. We're choosing to watch, so we're choosing to yell and scream and shake our fist at clouds in the sky, which happens a little too often. Though I want to move on to something a little more emotional because Brodie Lee, AEW had a appreciation night for him and his life and the contributions he did to the world, to wrestling. And as a fan watching it, I was crying. I was weeping the entire night for 2 hours. I never even met the guy. You were brought out. You were there. What an emotional night it must have been for you as well. So like take me through the day of the process and the emotions that were going on with you and everyone backstage.
So you got to remember this is like everything was still basically on lockdown. Like there's no public funerals. There's like no one's getting together. And this is a time when we needed each other. People need to be around those that they love and those that, are in their life. And I think me, especially, had been released and doing some other things, but like still not being around the people that I, had spent so much time with for so many years. For something like this to happen and like to be around those people, it was very emotional. And to see how emotional everybody was there, it just made it like, I don't know, very therapeutic in a way. But like you said, it was a tough night for everybody.
Yeah, it was just incredible to see the outpouring of support for him, his child, his wife. Like there was nobody at the time looking at wrestling as a show. They were looking at it as let's all come together. This is a very because you just brought it up, COVID running rampant. There was no, vaccines. There was no restrictions. It was like you just lock yourself in your house. Lock yourself in the house and don't go outside. Like that's the world we were living in. And suddenly we're all seeing our favorite wrestlers, cry on screen, sharing their emotions or memories about Brodie Lee and his career and his, his appreciation. We all appreciated him, but that night again, I'll never forget. And you showing up there as well, I think really added even more layers to the night because we had AEW wrestlers there, but then we associated you with, him in the WWE, in the Wyatt family, the Bludgeon Brothers, as a unit, a group. We assume that you two are friends because of the time you spent on TV together. Was that true? You guys were close to each other?
We both were adamant when we first got together. We butt heads all the time, but I think we were one of those few that would butt heads, and that just drew us closer together because there came a point, and this is before we won the belts at Mania with the Bludgeon Brothers, where we just kept getting, like this, and then we'd go off on our own, and then they'd put us back together, and then we'd get like this again, and then finally it was like, hey, like we got to do this. We got to make this work. How are we going to do it? And it was like that. Yes, bro. Yes. And like, I'm glad we, were able to have those, years. And like, to me, I get emotional as hell wrestling, still to this day, no matter where I am. Cause, I'd like to think he's like the little demon on my side over here whispering in my ear. I say that in the best way when I say
Of course.
demon.
Of course. Yeah. Most compliment. I never heard someone compliment me calling him a demon, but we just did it here, and he's a great man, and obviously he's on your shoulder, riding along with you as you continue in this journey of called life. But after the Brodie Lee special, I was surprised that we didn't see, a big giant sign that said, you are all elite. Now you have been working with AEW randomly, sporadically, but was it ever talked about you signing with AEW, or was COVID just that wasn't in the cards at the time?
It was never a conversation. I was doing and pursuing my own things, and like I don't know, just it was never a thing. And I didn't at that time, especially, I didn't want to be that guy that distracts and always made you remind people of a loss, especially that quickly. And with the Dark Order, like I wanted nothing to do with it, and that's nothing to say that like I'm better or no. What I'm saying is I didn't want nothing to do with it because that's his legacy. Like if it's gonna fizzle out, I want it to fizzle out. But he made it and created that in such a quick amount of time that he had left, that I want that to be the memory of him, his TNT championship, his dog collar matches. Like I want that all to be, held up here, like, and I wanted nothing to do with that. So, like, even if there was a conversation, I wouldn't have seen myself having a spot there.
Yeah, I could see that because someone might be saying to themselves, "Oh, is he just replacing Brodie Lee in the group? Like, oh, is he the leader now because they have associations in a different company? So is he just going to take over what he was doing here?" So I could see that being an issue, at least for you personally, because people would compare you to him, and that might be a problem because you obviously want to have your friend honored continuously. I think though, recently AEW, not recently, but AEW had an Owen Hart tournament to honor his life. I think a Brodie Lee tournament that should be next in the cards. So
Never thought about that.
Oh my God. He inspired so many people in such a short amount of time because of the history he put into the business. And yet I think people want to honor him no matter what. And AEW fans 100%, since it's such a new company, want to keep, the memories going and alive. I think a Brodie Lee tournament, at least in my personal opinion, would be nice for AEW, but we'll have to wait and see though. But let's talk about what you got going on besides wrestling. You're talking about acting, you're talking about all these outside projects. Let's talk about them. So what do you got going on?
So it was funny. It's like right when I got let go, I was given an opportunity to be in a David Arquette movie, and quite a big role for myself. And it was a movie called Ghosts of the Ozarks, which is available now on all streaming platforms, Amazon. You can watch it for free on Tubi if you'd like. But to me, that was such a great experience, and it opened my eyes to a lot of different things. And last season, I was lucky enough to do a couple episodes of Mara Kingstown with Germany Runners show. And just, it's the same as wrestling. Like, you sit and you learn and you take in so much. And it's like all these things I loved about professional wrestling, I love about acting. And on so many different levels. It's quite incredible. It's about that emotional vulnerability that you don't always get to show when you wrestle, and having to draw from deep real life experiences. And as a 40-year-old man, it's I've been through a hell of a lot in my life, and I like to draw off a lot of real life experiences and things. And it's just, to me, it's therapeutic in a way where when I get done with, a scene, whether it be very emotional or happy, like, it gets these emotions out of me that I normally don't, or am not allowed to show. And I recently filmed a short film in New York City. It's called Tito.
Okay.
Anthony Notoriety and Andy Moore, Andy Moon, they wrote and directed it. And what I loved about that is my role in that film was a guy that's 6'8", 300 plus pounds. He's a big tough guy named Hammer. But in it, it's not just him being this big tough guy with these crazy outbursts, which is there, but it's a big tough guy who's funny, who likes joking. But he has this quality of always wanting to respect his fellow man. And if you want respect, you need to earn it. But you have to give respect to other people who other people would view as beneath you, because everybody's working for their own dream. So I love playing characters that are not shown. You don't see guys like me showing those vulnerabilities on television. You don't.
Yeah, that's true.
They're always the muscular action hero type, and that's not me. I'm not an action hero. Like, yeah, I professional wrestle for a living, and I'm sure you have to have a certain level of toughness to your credibility.
Yeah.
But I want to tell this story, and that's what I love about, like, when I'm creating and drawing from these experiences, is like bringing these sides of myself out into these characters that people don't see, but people know that that's what you are.
Well, man, it sounds like you got a lot going on. I love it, man. Again, we could talk about wrestling for eternity, but I'm so glad we got to share what you're doing right now in the world of acting and performing, because, as everyone knows, wrestling takes a lot of training, but obviously acting takes a lot of training as well, mind, body, soul. But I got to say, thank you so much for being here on NBC's 10 and Count, Joseph, because you are a real person. You're not just a wrestler. You are a person, folks. If you see him in the street, don't yell at him and say, put your mask on. Joseph, thank you so much for being here on NBC's 10 Count. I've been Seafall. He's been Joseph. He's probably the White Rabbit. Just kidding. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you.